I came home after working 14 hours at the hospital to find my room completely empty. My clothes were in the garage in boxes labeled, "Donate." My mom said, "Your cousin needed a place to stay. You're almost 30. Grow up and move on." I asked her where I was supposed to sleep. She rolled her eyes and said, "Figure it out. You're smart, right?" I slept in my car for 5 days. A year later, I got a call from that same cousin. He said, "She's in the ICU. She keeps asking for you." I walked into that room and she whispered, "Why haven't you come home?" I've worked at Tulsa General Hospital for almost 7 years now. I'm a respiratory therapist, which means I see people on their worst days. I work with patients who can't breathe on their own, people hooked up to ventilators, people gasping for life. COVID, COPD, overdose victims, you name it. Every day is life and death. And I do it for 14 hours straight, 5 days a week. The day everything happened, I was dragging myself home after a brutal run of night shifts. I hadn't eaten a real meal in 2 days. I hadn't seen my own bed in almost a week. I kept thinking about how good it was going to feel to collapse onto my mattress, blackout curtains pulled, phone off. When I pulled into the driveway, I noticed something weird. My bins, my personal plastic storage bins, were sitting in the garage. I recognized the labels. My handwriting. Each one said something like winter clothes, books, shoes. But now they had fresh tape across them, with new labels written in someone else's hand, "Donate." I stared at them for a long minute, like my brain couldn't process what I was looking at. I walked in through the kitchen door. My mom was standing over the stove, frying eggs like nothing was wrong. No, "Hey, how was your shift?" No, "Good morning." Just silence, except for the sizzle of the skillet. I didn't see my dog. I didn't smell the usual coffee. I dropped my work bag by the door and made my way to my room. Except it wasn't my room anymore. My mattress was gone. My nightstand? Gone. Even the pictures on the wall were taken down. In their place was a thin, shitty-looking air mattress, a duffel bag on the floor, a laptop charging in the corner. My cousin Marcus was lying there, watching some show on his phone like he'd lived there forever. He looked up, nodded, said, "What's up?" Like this wasn't absolutely insane. I turned around and walked back into the kitchen. My voice was shaking. What the hell happened to my room? Mom didn't turn around. She flipped the eggs. Marcus moved in last week. He needed a place to stay. You moved him into my room? I asked, trying not to yell. She finally turned to face me. You're almost 30. What are you doing still living at home anyway? You work full-time. You should have moved out years ago. I stared at her. Where are my things? In the garage, she said, like it was obvious. What was worth keeping? The rest, I donated. Or threw out. You threw out my stuff. I said I kept what mattered. It's not like you ever used half of it. And where am I supposed to sleep? She rolled her eyes. You're grown. Figure it out. You're smart, right? I grabbed my keys and walked out. I didn't say another word. That night, I slept in my car in the hospital parking lot. No heat. Just me, my scrubs, and a half-empty water bottle. My back hurt. My neck ached. But it was still better than walking back into that house. I kept going to work like nothing happened. I told no one. On the third day, one of the ER nurses, Shauna, noticed something was off. I guess I looked like I hadn't slept in a week. She asked if I was okay. I shrugged it off. Later that night, she saw me curled up in the back seat of my car on her way out. She knocked on the window and said, "You can't sleep here. Come crash on my couch." That woman saved me. I stayed with her for almost 3 months. I paid her what I could. Then I found a rundown studio on the east side, cheap, ugly, but mine. Roaches came free with the lease. But I had a key and a lock. And nobody could kick me out. I never talked to my mom after that. I didn't call. I didn't text on holidays. I didn't even stop by when my aunt passed. I was done. Until about a year later, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. It was Marcus. I almost hung up. But something in me paused. "She's in the ICU," he said. "Pneumonia. It's bad. She keeps asking for you." I let the silence hang. He sounded scared. "She's asking for me?" I finally said. "That's rich." "I know what happened was messed up," he said. "But she's really sick. She might not make it." I told him I'd think about it. I didn't go right away. I sat with it for a day. Then another. I kept thinking about how cold those nights in the car were. About the way she looked me dead in the face and told me to grow up. About how she replaced me like trash. Then I remembered I was a professional. I'd treated strangers who spit in my face. I'd helped people who didn't deserve it. This was no different. So I went. She was hooked up to a BiPAP machine. Her face was pale. The strong, hard woman I grew up with was gone. She looked frail, helpless. When she saw me, her eyes filled with tears. She reached for me, her voice weak and hoarse. She whispered, "Why haven't you come home?" I didn't answer her question right away. I stood at the foot of the hospital bed, arms crossed. The room was quiet except for the wheeze of the BiPAP and the steady beep of monitors. Her eyes, sunken, tired, searched mine like she expected me to just fall apart. Like I was still her little boy. But I wasn't. Not anymore. She tried to sit up a little, winced from the effort. "You hate me," she whispered. I didn't correct her. "Why are you here then?" she asked. "Because Marcus called," I said. "And I'm a professional. That's it." She blinked fast like she was trying not to cry. "I made a mistake." I let out a short laugh. "That's one way to put it." "I thought I was helping him," she said. "He had nowhere else to go." "And I did," I said. My voice rose. I couldn't stop it. "You threw out my life like garbage. You didn't even call me." "I didn't think you'd leave," she said. I stared at her, stunned. "You didn't think I'd leave after you gave my room away? After you dumped my clothes in the garage? I thought you'd be mad. But not, gone. You told me to figure it out. So I did." She opened her mouth, then closed it. Her breathing grew shaky. A nurse came in to check her vitals and gave me a look that said, "Keep it calm." I stepped out into the hallway. Marcus was waiting there. He looked even more uncomfortable in person. His hair was longer. His face thinner. "I didn't want it to go down like that," he said. "I told her not to do it like that." "But you still moved in," I said. He shrugged. "I had no place. She said you barely came home. That it was just for a little while." "How long did you stay?" I asked. He hesitated. 8 months. I laughed. "That's a long little while." He didn't say anything. Then he said, "She left you off her insurance paperwork." "What?" When they admitted her, I asked who the emergency contact was. It was still Uncle Dave. "Not you." Uncle Dave lived in Oregon. They hadn't spoken in 5 years. I shook my head. "Unbelievable." Marcus rubbed his face. "I think she didn't think you'd ever forgive her. Maybe she didn't want to bother trying." So why'd she ask for me now? He looked at the floor. Because the doctors said it's bad. Her lungs aren't bouncing back. She's scared. I didn't say anything. I just stood there, feeling the old anger twist with something else, pity maybe. Maybe just exhaustion. The next day, I went back. She was a little better. Awake, alert. I brought her some water and helped her adjust her mask. She looked at me and said, "Are you going to stay?" I said, "I haven't decided." She nodded slowly. Fair. Then came the twist. 2 days later, while she was asleep, a social worker pulled me aside. "There's something you should know," she said. "Your mother listed Marcus as her power of attorney. He has full say over her care. Finances too." I felt like the floor dropped out beneath me. He what? She signed the papers months ago, the woman said. He's been managing things ever since. I walked out of the hospital room and found Marcus in the waiting area. "You knew?" I said. He didn't even act surprised. "Yeah. You're in charge of everything?" He nodded. "She asked me to. Back when she thought she was still fine." "You've got her bank account? Her house? Everything?" I stared at him. Did she know what she was doing? Or did you push her into it? His jaw tightened. "Don't come at me like that." "I'm just saying," I said, stepping closer. "You've got a nice setup. Free place. Her money. And now her power of attorney. You think I wanted this?" he snapped. "You left. I stayed. You think she had anybody else?" I realized something then. This wasn't just about her anymore. This was about him. He saw a spot to slip into, and he took it. Just like he slipped into my room. Just like he slipped into her life. I'd been erased. And now, with her sick and scared, I was supposed to step in and forgive everything while he held all the power. No. Not this time. The more I thought about it, the more it didn't sit right. Marcus wasn't just helping out. He'd taken control of everything, her house, her money, her medical choices. And she didn't even list me as a backup. After all I did. After how she begged for me from that hospital bed. I started digging. One night, I went back to the old house. I still had a garage key she never bothered to ask for. The place looked different. Marcus had moved furniture around. Her framed photos were off the walls. Beer cans in the kitchen. A new flat screen in the living room. All the signs were there, this wasn't her house anymore. It was his. I checked the mail she hadn't picked up from the box in weeks. There were letters from credit card companies. Overdue notices. A default warning on a home equity line. That didn't make sense. My mom didn't carry debt. She paid cash for everything. She was old school like that. She didn't even trust online banking. So why the debt? Then I found the envelope that told me everything. It was addressed to Marcus D. Carter, and it was from a credit union in Missouri. It included paperwork for a $25,000 personal loan. Co-signed by my mother. I took it straight to the hospital the next day and waited until Marcus stepped out for a smoke. When I walked in, Mom was awake. I held the envelope up without a word. Her face changed instantly. "You found that?" she said. "I wasn't looking. It was just there. Just like all the other debt letters." She looked down at her hands. "You signed for this?" I asked. "Why?" "I thought it would help him get back on his feet," she said quietly. "How much has he taken?" She didn't answer. "Tell me." She closed her eyes. "I don't know. Maybe 30. Maybe more. He said he was paying bills. And you made him your power of attorney?" He's all I had left, she said. No, I snapped. You had me. But I was inconvenient, wasn't I? Tears started down her face. You kicked me out for this, I said, waving the envelope. You threw your own kid into the street so you could save Marcus. And now he's draining your accounts and playing house in your living room while you rot in here. She sobbed into her mask, choking on her breath. I pressed the call button and stepped out before her vitals could crash. I didn't sleep that night. My head wouldn't stop spinning. The next morning, I requested a meeting with the hospital's ethics board and the social worker. I told them about the money, the debt, the documents I found. I showed them copies. They agreed to put a temporary freeze on medical decisions until they could investigate whether she was in a sound state of mind when she signed the power of attorney. That's when Marcus lost it. He cornered me in the hospital cafeteria. You've got some nerve, he hissed. You think you're better than me because you wear scrubs? You think you can just walk in after a year and take over? She's not your ATM, I said. You want money? Get a job. I'm doing everything for her, he shouted. I cleaned up her mess. You don't know the half of it. No, I said. I don't. Because you made sure I was never around long enough to find out. He stormed off, furious. Later that week, I found out he tried to move money out of one of her accounts before the freeze hit. He was too late. Now he was angry. But I wasn't scared. I was focused. I went to the lawyer who handled my dad's estate years ago and asked if he could help. He reviewed the documents and said, "You've got a case. If your mother was pressured or manipulated, we can fight this." So I filed a motion for conservatorship. And that's when Marcus made his next move. He showed up at my job. Right in the middle of my shift in the ER. He told the front desk I had a family emergency. I came out thinking something happened to Mom. Instead, he handed me an envelope and said, "You want to play games? Let's go." I'm not backing down. It was a countersuit. He was fighting my motion. He had a lawyer now too. This wasn't just about Mom anymore. This was war. The court hearing was set for a Tuesday in mid-April. By then, Mom was out of the ICU but still in a hospital bed, barely able to walk, coughing constantly, and hooked up to oxygen. She looked older by 10 years. Marcus came to court in a wrinkled suit and fake confidence. I came in my scrub straight from a night shift, no time to change, eyes bloodshot from another 14-hour grind. But I came with evidence. Bank statements. Letters. Loan documents. A statement from the hospital's social worker. And the kicker, my mom's medical file. The doctor who treated her wrote a letter stating that, at the time she signed over power of attorney, her oxygen levels were dangerously low. Her memory was unreliable. She wasn't stable. She wasn't capable of fully understanding what she was signing. It worked. The judge granted me emergency conservatorship. Froze the accounts. Stripped Marcus of power. Ordered an independent audit of every dollar that had moved in and out of my mom's bank account for the past 12 months. And then came the part one didn't expect. 3 weeks later, the audit report hit my desk. I read it sitting alone at my apartment kitchen table. And when I was done, I just sat there staring at the wall. $47,000. That's what Marcus had pulled from her savings. Some of it was in cash withdrawals. Some went to a used BMW. Some to gambling sites. There were Cash App transfers to girls. Plane tickets to Vegas. But the worst part? There was a second life insurance policy I never knew about. He tried to cash it in early. While she was still in the hospital. That was enough. I sent everything to the district attorney. Financial elder abuse. Fraud. Theft. I didn't even have to make the follow-up call. They picked him up 2 days later at a poker room downtown. He had $1,200 in chips on him. The charges stuck. I visited Mom after the arrest. She was home by then, in a hospital bed set up in the living room, a nurse checking in twice a week. She looked weak but clearer in the head. I told her what happened. She cried for a long time. I didn't know, she kept saying. I thought he was helping. I just wanted to help him. I looked her dead in the eyes and said, "You lost everything trying to save someone who wouldn't lift a finger for you. And you threw away the one person who actually did." She nodded slowly. "You're right. I didn't move back in. I hired a caretaker to help her. I handled the bills, the appointments. But emotionally, I stayed distant. I did what was right, but I didn't pretend everything was okay." Marcus got 2 years. Could have been more, but she refused to testify against him. Even after everything. I showed up to the sentencing anyway. He saw me in the back row of the courtroom, handcuffed and hollow-looking. He looked like he wanted to say something. But I didn't let him. I walked out before the cuffs clicked shut. That was the last time I saw him. My mom still calls sometimes. Sometimes to apologize. Sometimes just to talk. I keep the conversations short. I don't hang up, but I don't go back either. She made her choice. And when it mattered most, so did I. I used to think revenge meant getting even. Now I know it means walking away with your head high, while the people who wronged you drown in the mess they made.